All right, traders, here is the BWB4 trend model, or the black and white B4. It's 4/7/2024. All right, here are the indicator settings. This is everything that comprises the BWB4 trend model indicator. Just to go down the list real quick, this is an order entry application that I have. It's not necessary. I got it really cheap. So that's why I use it. I like it, but I wouldn't recommend buying it now. It's pretty pricey. Order line decorator, it's free for download on our Discord room, or you can get it on Elites. The bar status by Ninjarinko, it's free. Of course, we're using Ninjarinko bars for this. Those are free. If you don't have those, that can all be downloaded. The B4 V3, I use this V3 model version. You can use the latest updated B4 indicator from the B4 Discord or website. It doesn't matter for what I'm using it for. It doesn't matter which version you're using. All right, here's an indicator that I'm watching. At times I've got it out until I use it. It's not even worth bringing it up in here. So, all right, so the Trend Magic, free for download. And then all of these are markers, either copies or conditional statements. We'll go into those in just a few minutes. All right, so here's the markers plus descriptions for each of these applications. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the M_triggered, M_average. These two entries over here simply copy the long-term BLT trigger lines. The settings I'm using for this are EMA 63, EMA 33. Trigger lines are free to download. Okay, and that's these two components right here. They're all in this category where I'm copying these indicators to create variables that I reference a little bit later. All right, the next one is the indicator store OC, open close. That's what this stands for. This is a copy of the open close indicator from the indicatormarket.com. It's paid for indicator, but I'm going to create a free version a little bit later on. Just didn't have time, this weekend when I was putting this together. So the settings for this model are if you were to buy this and open it up, this is a reminder from me because I stumbled on this. I've had this indicator for about 6 months and never used it. Opened it up just to check it out, and there was a feature in there that I didn't even know was there. So it's a trend model, and it's something I've been trying to develop for quite some time. I just haven't had an opportunity to, but lo and behold, there it was. So +2 checked inside there. This won't mean anything to you if you don't have the indicator. Bar counts up 12, down count 12. And when this thing in the trend component, when it triggers, when these counts are triggered, an uptrend is returned as a +1, downtrend is a -1. All right, the M_TM1, this is just a trend magic indicator, and the settings for this are the ATR multiplier is 1. It's default. Everything else is default. So uptrends return a +1, downtrends return a -1. That's how I'm grabbing this stuff. And again, these indicators we just covered all are in this category here where I create variables, and I'll reference those variables down in these conditional statements. All right, BC just stands for bar coloring. That's so I can keep my naming conventions straight, so I'll know where to go to when I'm making tweaks. So I have a strong up and a strong down, and I'm just going to cover one side of this. The opposite side holds true. So these are conditional statements defining a strong up and down trend. So when the TM1 equals +1 and the TISOC equals +1 and the close is greater than the open, then the bars are painted Dodge blue. And when the TM1 equals -1 and the TISOC equals -1 and closes less than the open, bars are painted crimson. So those are the strongest up and down moves. All right, they're one direction. Now the pullbacks, that's what these are. So these are the strong one directional moves. Everything is +1, and for the bullish thing, the closes are all greater than the opens. So it's screaming in the upside, and then the downside, the closes are all lower than the open. All right, so in order to code the pullbacks in here, what I've done is taken the bar coloring for up pullback, bar coloring for a down pullback. All right, these are conditional statements. So when in the bullish mode, when TM1 is +1 and the TIS open close is +1, and we get a pullback and the close is less than the open, so we got a bullish market, and on the Ninja bars the close is less than the open, then the bars are painted pale turquoise. It's the opposite for the TM1. All right, and I'll cover, there's another feature in here too that I didn't put in there, but it's the neutral bar. So now we've got now I've got another condition set of statements in here for the trigger line touch. So trigger line touch is another setup we're watching, and I wanted to code this in here without putting the trigger lines on the chart. So what I've asked markers to do is whenever the trigger lines are bullish and the low is less than the trigger line, then I want bullish up arrows. Okay, and the opposite for when the red arrows are printed. Trigger lines are in a bearish mode, and the high will be at least will be touching the touching or higher than the trigger line. All right, you'll see this in just a second here. But anyway, this is the verbiage to make this work. All right, so background. The drive is for me is to design the simplest trend model, and the two things I'm after is to isolate the highest probability setups and minimize clutter, creating a clean chart. That's it. That's the drive. So that's the end state. Everything else I'm doing is working toward this end state. So this is just another evolution, and again keeping the same concept in play that I started out with. All right, so let's talk about the trend identification for this. Really easy. In a bullish, the trend magic line is white. The bars are blue. Strong uptrend, close greater than the open. Pullback, close less than open, pale turquoise. We're not going to talk about the arrows now. Strong uptrend, close greater than the open. Trend magic is white. Okay, so what this is saying is that when all of these conditions are met, trend magic line is +1, the open close is +1, and the close is greater than the open, we've got dodge blue. And then when these things are TM is +1 bullish, TM +1 bullish, and the open close is +1 and bullish, and we get the pullback, I code those pale turquoise. Same up here. All right, so that's the bullish. Bearish is just the opposite. So we've got, and you can see here in between the white arrows, that's marked out. That's the bullish play area. All right, bearish in between the black arrows is the bearish. So it starts when they turn crimson red and ends when they turn dodge blue. Over here, it starts when it turns dodge blue, and then ends over here. I got my arrow off, just ends when it turns red. Okay. All right, so this is a good example right here. I included. I didn't actually write this up, but this is a really good example. So bearish. All right, trend magic line is black and returns a -1. All right, the open close is red, turning below 0. It's binary, so it returns a -1. So the bars, the close is less than the open, so it's one directional. Everything's negative, so it's crimson. Pullback happens, and we're still -1, -1, pullback coded into a a pink pullback bar. Okay, then the trend resumes. Now we get into this area here, so now you'll notice we have some gray bars. Look at the gray bars. Gray bars simply means that could be a trend change, could just be a really deep pullback. So when the bars turn silver in here, what that means is the trend magic line is still returning a -1, but the open close triggered a +1. I weight the trend magic line more than the open close line. So that way, in a deep pullback, when the trend magic line is still holding the line, we can still take these plays right here, and I'll explain what those arrows are. Show you that in just a second. All right, so that's what the silver is. Then we get back in here again, and we flip. The open close starts returning a -1. The trend magic has always been -1 through these pullbacks, so we paint the bars crimson again. There we go, same thing. We get up here, we're pulling back, we get crimson, and then we get +1 here. Then we flip to +1 on the trend magic line, so now we get our blues. Okay. Pullback categories, nothing has changed. It's still the same. John Wick, the B4 Jiggle, the deep pullback, or what we're calling now the trigger line touch. All right, the B4 Jiggle, let's hit that right quick. So the B4 Jiggle occurs when the B4 paints, we're going to talk bullish first, when it paints a green up triangle. When a green up triangle prints, look for a minimum of a 2-bar pullback. And when the bar reverses back to the upside, Jiggle is activated. Entry is on the close. All right, anytime during a bullish B4 Jiggle, if a red down arrow appears, the B4 Jiggle setup is negated. All right, let's just look at some examples. They're pretty self-explanatory. All right, so green up triangle prints prior to the pullback. Where's the green triangle? Right here. All right, prints, goes up, we pull back. There's no green or no red arrow, so we enter on the close up right there, somewhere in between those two. If you can't nail that, you don't have the ninja bar status. All right, so that's the up. All right, during the pullback, the bars remain pale turquoise or silver as long as we don't get a red down arrow. It's a B4 Jiggle. Okay, that's it. All right, here we go. Let's look at the bearish. We got red down triangle prints here. Of course, we're in the bullish mode here. You guys everybody can see this right here. We're TM up, white, +1, open close, blue, +1. So that's easy to define the trend environment here. All right, so for the bearish, TM is down, -1, open close below 0, -1, red, pull back, pink. There's no green arrow, so we enter on the close. All right, I'm trying to get 5 points, so here's another B4. You get the red. You don't have to have another red arrow. If you have one, pull back, it comes down, and there's no red arrow here, you pull back and it comes down again. That's still a B4 Jiggle. It's still in the sequence. You haven't gotten a green up yet. Now, I would have lost money on this one because it just didn't pan out, but that's just the way it is. Okay, it's the B4 Jiggles. All right, the trigger line touch. All right, the trigger line touch is the long-term BLT trigger lines that you see in my original model. They're not on this chart. I'm using markers to copy the trigger lines, snag the variable, and it just doesn't show on the chart, but it references that. So what I want is when the trigger lines touch, I only want to take the trigger line touches when the trend is bearish per our definition, and the only addition that you'll see here are the red down arrows on the bearish side. So we come down here, you can see we were the trigger lines were bullish. We were coming down. We never got an up close. We changed to silver, then we turned to red. Everything's off the table at that point in time. Okay, so now we're TM returning -1. We're open close returning -1. So now we're just waiting. We had a touch right there, so we could enter that one. You take a little bit of heat, but you enter again. This is where I like to enter my second contract. Is you get just a little bit of heat, and you can enter that second one right there. So it would have been close on whether or not I would have been taken out on this one right here. Above that John Wick is probably is where I would have had my stop, somewhere there. So, but still active. So you get a nice move down. I'm only looking for 5 points, but nice move. All right. And here, guess what? You got a B4 jiggle. All right. And another. This is not a jiggle. This is perfect. This is we go down. If you're still playing all the jiggles, everything in the leg, look what prints right there prior to the down close, and that saved you from taking a bad B4 jiggle trade. Okay. All right. Now uptrend. We're trend magic +1, open close +1, blue, pale turquoise, and hey, in this pullback, we snag the trigger line. The trigger line is the fast moving average on the BLT trigger lines. So when you look at those, that's what I'm touching. It's those fast trigger lines. Let's move this in here and just show you. So we'll get one that's really obvious. So this is what I'm talking about. We come down and we touch this. That's the trigger line right there. This is the average. So as soon as we touch that, right in here, we start getting an up arrow on our other chart. All right, now on the other chart, I'm just looking for the up close because I already know what this looks like. So again, right here, we come down, we touch that, we get into the trigger line, and it just keeps painting an up arrow until we get the close there. Okay, that's how that actually works. So, but the only trigger line touches I want to take are the ones when the trend holds structure. So this is a perfect example here on the bullish trade. We come up, we pull back, we're pale turquoise, then we turn silver. You see the blue arrows. We still can take that trade. But for me, anytime we have a color change and the structure is still intact, meaning that the trend magic line is still there, instead of buying on the close, I'm going to buy on the third close up. That's just something I've noticed. I haven't got hard stats on that, but this is where I would enter. We pull back again. We're still into the trigger lines. This would be where I would add my second contract, this close right here or the close higher. All right. So that's how we want to treat. It's how I want to treat the trigger line touches. All right. Summary. The B4 or the BWB4 trend model is the latest evolution in simplifying the chart and isolating the highest probability setups. I'm using 3 trend components that comprise the model with 3 primary pullback setups. So that's all for this video. As we continue evolving and moving forward, we'll continue updating and make these videos. Hey, good luck in your trading.